I will call the meeting to order at 7:00 p.m. Jennifer, can we get a roll call?
Ms. Grisham, Mr. Glovinger,
Here.
Ms. Oliver,
Here.
Mr. Patel,
Here.
Inspector Bishop,
Here.
Ms. Unical,
Here.
Ms. Shu.
Here. Great. We have a quorum. Moving into the consent agenda, are there any items that anyone would like to be removed from the consent agenda? Seeing none, can we get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Move.
Thanks, Jay. Second. Thanks, Janet. Can we get a roll call?
Mr. Glovinger,
Yes.
Ms. Oliver,
Yes.
Mr. Patel,
Yes.
Inspector Bishop,
Yes.
Ms. Unical,
Yes.
Ms. Shu.
Yes. Excellent. Moving into public comment, it looks like we have a member of the public here. Is that correct? Do you the signage?
Have it, yeah.
Sure. Good evening, board members. Thank you very much for your service for the Northbrook community. I'm representing the chair yoga class. They were all here begging last month, and we were very happy to hear that our classes will continue weekly. I want you to know that we had standing room at our last class of June. So more people are interested in coming and for their good health. And I just want to thank all of you for your reconsideration. It meant a lot to us, and it's really helping us too, especially us older folks, that have hip problems and stuff. And Olga is so good helping us and really taking the time for each person that needs a little more attention. So thank you very much. I'm a member of 41 years of Northbrook community.
Oh, wow.
A long time. My family has been with the library for everything, and it's been very helpful. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for coming. Thank you. No other public comment, so we will move into staff reports.
So as you can see, I made it back from my vacation. I just want to extend a thank you to Kelly, who, as always, does an amazing job in my absence. We did have some fun building things that she and Anna got to deal with while I was gone, and they will regale you with some of that during our chiller update. But she, as always, made sure that our building and facilities continued to operate and serve the needs of the community. And so I also, as per requested last month, wanted to just share a couple of the books that I read while I was on vacation, because I made a note that I forgot, but then Becky was like, but you have to share with the board what you read on vacation. I'm like, okay. So I had actually two different series that I read. One is a series that is a retelling of different Jane Austen books written by an Indian American author and set in current day California. So like each book is patterned after a different Jane Austen book. So they had Incense and Sensibility. Emma was another, they called it Emma, even though it's, not the Emma. And so those are really good. The author is Sonali Dev. So if you enjoy Jane Austen or Jane Austen retellings, I highly recommend them. There's 4 books in the series. And then I also read a series of a dystopian trilogy that Catherine Dantico, who is one of our circulation staff members, recommended to me. It's post-apocalyptic kind of, after a nuclear blast has obliterated the world. It's about a group of people that or like 10,000 people that live in this underground silo, and how do they navigate, and is the world safe, and will it ever be safe to go out? And then there's of course some nefarious things, and like what is really true and what is really real, and as you read it, it kind of uncovers different things. The name, the first book in the series is called Wool, and it's called the Silo series.
The Silo was on television.
It is. I'm not probably
TV.
gonna
It was really good.
watch it.
Yeah.
But it is based on this series.
Yeah.
The series was
sounded like-
excellent if you enjoy reading dystopian fiction. If you do not, I would not recommend reading it. We had a slight conversation about it. And then I read some other like fluffy kind of chick lit fantasy stuff.
We like fluffy.
Yeah, I love
Especially on
fluffy.
vacation.
Yeah,
Especially in the summer.
Right.
it is. Yeah. I cheated and did not read anything set in Italy or France, but I usually try and read books set in the places I'm visiting because I'm a librarian like that. And so, uh, also in my staff reports, we have a couple presentations, and so I'm going to actually turn the floor over to Kelly, who is going to. Oh,
Can I have the bar?
yep, you sure can. I was trying to be ahead of things and wasn't thinking about the fact that you needed to go first. So Kelly's going to share information from our most recent Illinois Public Library annual report that we're submitting.
Hang tight, everyone. Do-do-do. I should have been proactive. Sorry.
Uh,
There we go. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for coming.
All right. So, as you saw in the packet, the not so beautiful version of the full annual report that we submit to the state library, which is called the IPLAR. I just have some data that I want to highlight and give a broad overview. If you have been on the board previously, you might recognize the first 3 slides, but if you haven't, I just wanted to make sure to kind of give an overview. First of all, what is IPLAR? So the IPLAR is data that's submitted to the state library. It is used by Public Library Survey, or the PLS survey. It's administered also by the Institute of Museum and Library Services, or IMLS. The report is a by-the-numbers look at the library from facility size, personnel data, budget information, collection usage, programs and services, and it's data that we collect throughout the year. I certainly am not the only one that is collecting that data. All of our staff play a part in that, both throughout the year, looking at our statistical information, but then an actual compiling of the report. There's about a group of 12 of us that actually work to put this report together every year. So how is the data used? So it's used by IMLS to provide information to the at the federal level. It's also used to identify trend data. Some of our local libraries, including us, use it if we're doing comparison studies. We have access to other libraries' IPLAR reports, and we can do side-by-side comparisons and look at some benchmarking opportunities there. It used to be used for the Library Journal 5-Star Library Initiative, which is currently on hiatus. So we don't know if that will happen again or
so that means
not.
we may just remain a 5-star library.
Right. We went out on a high note. If that was the
That's great.
And as I mentioned, the numbers come from us gathering data throughout the year from various places throughout the library. We're definitely a data-heavy institution, so we're looking at financial data, we're looking at circulation data, we're looking at door counts, we're looking at website usage, sort of anything that can be counted, we do count. So some of the notable things that I wanted to point out from this past fiscal year, which ended on April 30th, was our library card holder numbers are going up. So you may remember we saw a dip during the pandemic, which was not wholly because of the pandemic. It was also due to a large data cleanup that happened through our CCS system. But thanks to a number of initiatives, we've done a lot of marketing for library cards, especially during Library Card Sign Up Month, but throughout the whole year. We also were able to expand cards for kids, for students who do not live in an area that's served by a library, and that's thanks to board policy that changed 2 years ago. So those numbers are well over 200. Prior to the policy change, we only had 7 Cards for Kids users. We also are proactively working with the schools at registration to sign students up for library cards. And so our circulation department works really closely with various members of the schools to ensure that as kids are coming into school for the school year, they have their library cards. So that is where a lot of those numbers are coming from. Our teacher card program also is growing in popularity, which is great. Another big increase that we're seeing is our meeting room bookings. So I thought our 23 numbers were gigantic. We doubled them this year. So we're up to 314. And then, I'm sorry, it's even more than that. It's closer to 500 for this year. Last year was 314. And then next year, this will be even higher because our auditorium rentals will be included in meeting room bookings. Currently, the auditorium is not bookable for outside groups, so any internal programs are not counted in these numbers. But next year, we'll see some increase for the auditorium bookings. I'd be shocked if it was in the hundreds, but and then study room bookings also are up 3,000 bookings. So that's not even people using them. That's actual room bookings. So that's huge. If you've been here at any point in time on the second floor, you will see that our study rooms are always heavily used. We do not get into situations where we have a lot of waiting lists. Generally, folks who come in can get a study room and don't have to wait very long. Every once in a while, we do have times where people need to wait, but
Finals.
yeah,
It's heavy.
right. But yeah, otherwise, we're able to accommodate those 13,000 bookings annually, which is great. And then our total materials loaned, we did have a banner year in fiscal year 22 where we went over 1 million. But generally we do see our circulation just under 1 million items. I think it's interesting to note this year our youth circulation bumped up. It kind of had plateaued over the last couple of years. So that's great to see. Another thing that we saw a huge increase was our downloadable audio and ebook usage. In Libby, we were up by 18,000 checkouts. So that accounts for a huge increase. I think it was something like 20% over last year. So, and then we're also seeing a really large increase in use of magazines through Overdrive, which I think is interesting. I don't hear a lot of people talking about that, so it's interesting that they're finding them there. Yeah. And then I also wanted to point out our staff development and training numbers are recorded in the IPLAR, and we had over 3,000 hours of training for staff. That includes internal trainings like our staff development day that happened in May, as well as trainings that staff are attending outside of the library, like the Public Library Association conference that I went to in April, or the ILA conference that happens every fall. And we spent a little over $64,000 on staff training.
Just one question.
Yeah.
Evaluations from those trainings, were they worthwhile?
Yeah.
It's a number that's
Yes,
wonderful,
right.
hours, but it's not always well spent.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. I think that by and large, yes, we don't collect data on outside conferences, whether or not they were satisfactory or not, but we do see in our manager's narrative reports summaries of what was learned and how that learning is being used throughout the year. So we definitely have seen a lot of innovation coming from the learning. And then for our internal events, we are seeing satisfactory ratings from all of those internal trainings.
Because the feedback is important to tell future trainees that don't go to this workshop,
Yes,
because
right.
it wasn't what we expected. So
That's an excellent point. Yes. Any other questions?
Did you come up with area? I love when you get the data because it points what you're doing well, but it also points to what you need to work on. Did you come up with areas that the numbers didn't match up to what you expected?
Not really. I will say that I'm really looking forward to the pay equity audit because I think some of the personnel numbers, it's not that they're not adding up, but there's definitely a lot of variation. And I think it will be really helpful to take a high level look at how we're paying folks and ensuring that it's equitable.
Thank you, Kelly.
Sure thing. It wasn't just me. Thanks to all the staff that helped with it.
Just to keep on the data trajectory, I wanted to just mention a couple numbers before I talk about some of the circulation data trend stuff that I have a presentation for. And one of the things that Gracias. One of the things that started on June 1st, you may recall, is summer reading, which, as a reminder, if you have not signed up yet, you still can.
I signed up. I've read 2 books.
Oh my
I signed up.
gosh.
I'm in the middle of my third.
That's great. I signed up when I got back from vacation, so I am done. But I haven't logged them yet, so they.
Oh, wait, but I don't know that it counts for you to put books down. You
It
read
does. You get to
before.
count from June 1st, whatever you were reading as of June 1st.
I don't know. I think you have to count from when you start the program, Kate.
All right, I can do that. That's fair,
She's still gonna
Jane.
be done.
That's fair. I am still going to be done, but like I read a book yesterday, so I will count that one. 'Cause that counts. And so we have 761 adults that have signed up. 173 have already logged 4 books, which is awesome. And then we have just under 2,000 babies, teens, and youth. 1,969 have signed up. So our numbers continue to just increase, which I think shows like the goal of the reading program is, of course, to get people excited about reading, but it's to help encourage the reading habit. And I think we really see that in the increased numbers, especially with the adults. Every library, I mean, this is the 6th library that I've worked at, and you only typically have a couple hundred adults. And the fact that we keep seeing our adult numbers increasing, I think really speaks to, one, how well we structure our program, and that adults in this community are really invested in and are very good, heavy readers, which I think is really wonderful. So, and we also have really great prizes. The bags
And the
are very
marketing and the
popular.
logo, everything about it is inviting.
Right, yes. Yes. So we are very happy. So we have a total of 2,730 people that are signed up, and we're excited to see how those numbers continue. And then, of course, see how many people are able to finish by the middle of August. So very exciting things to come. And I will only count from when I signed up, which was yesterday. I'll let you guys know. I'll be done by next board meeting.
I believe you.
So my niece was giving me grief on vacation. She's like, "You don't ever sit and do nothing." I said, I do all the time. I sit and read all the time. She's like, "That doesn't count." I'm like, "Well, what do you mean sit and do nothing? Like sit on my phone?" She's like, "No, just sit and do nothing." I'm like, I don't think anyone does that.
Everybody does
I don't think anyone does that.
That's a good skill, though, to be bored. It leads to curiosity. Good for her.
I know. Wow.
I work with college students, and they're
So-
developing brains.
I have to say that she's told me that it's something I need to work on. So I
There you
told her
go.
that I would work on that. So speaking of things I need to work on, we're going to talk about some circ trends as we I think it was maybe Nimesh last month who brought it up. And so I said I would put together some information and share what trends we're noticing. So Kelly gave a great overview of the IPLAR stuff, and some of that is going to also be incorporated here. But I wanted to take us through and kind of look at how our items are circulating when we look at things by audience, and then also by the different types of material, so like books versus movies, etc. And then also looking at the physical versus the downloadable, because as we often hear, like ebooks will be the downfall of libraries, and that is not, you will see as reflected in the numbers, that is not what is happening. So first, this is the IPLAR, not the most recent one. I didn't put Kelly's numbers in. But for the last decade, so you can kind of see where we are at in terms of materials checked out. The blue items are our children's items, and the green items are young adult. You'll notice that those only start appearing in 2017. Before that, the IPLAR did not ask for young adult, so those were included in the children's. And then the orange is our adult materials. So you can see that we had, as Kelly mentioned, that 2022 banner year where we hit over 1 million. Hey, Maura. It's all good. We did, but that is all good. We are so happy to have you here. And so we're just talking circ data. So I was going to say, not that you didn't miss, Kelly gave a great presentation that I'll send you the recording of, because it was wonderful, but nothing critical that you missed. So this just kind of shows you that we typically see, we were seeing higher numbers of adult materials being checked out, and we're seeing that trend over the last few years start to shift, and that's shown even more in the numbers that Kelly was just showing from 2024. But the good news is that in many libraries, it is often heavily one, like adult versus youth, and ours is pretty balanced. So we're not seeing one department having an outsized view, which is interesting when you think about it, because children's books, we have a higher percentage of seniors in our population. And so you would think like, oh, those books would be checking out more. But you have to also remember that for like the under 5 set, they're checking out like 20 books at a time for the picture books. So it kind of offsets, even though our population has a larger group of seniors, we do have a sizable portion of younger families, and we are seeing them actively and heavily using the library, which is wonderful. Next, I'm going to just take you through the different types of items that we have. This is all physical items. So these are items that you can check out, that you have to come in and check out. These do not include any downloadable items. So this shows our books checked out. All of the red lines you'll see on the graphs that I'm about to show are the checkout, and then the blue shows the items that we have, that we own. And as you can see, we have decreased the total number of items that we now own from a physical standpoint. When we added our 13 study rooms to the 5 that we already had, we had to reduce the size of the adult nonfiction collection. But what you'll notice is that while we certainly had that huge dip in circ during the beginning of the pandemic, because we were closed and people couldn't check out, you'll see that the numbers are increasing, and where before, even though our total collection size has gone down, we're seeing our overall book circulation numbers continue to be going back up. They were not as high as they were in 2017, but you'll see the difference in between the number owned and the higher, I think, really shows that the materials that we're purchasing are really meeting what people are looking for in terms of physical book checkouts. Audiobooks, on the other hand, while we have decreased the collection a little bit, those numbers continue to just go down and down and down for our physical checkouts. This is not surprising to any of us, and when I show you the downloadable numbers, you'll see the reason for that. It's not that people aren't listening to audiobooks anymore, it's that they are primarily, like 80% of the checkouts are coming from downloadable checkouts. So with the physical items, people just aren't there. This is decreasing need, and is one that we are looking at heavily, and that we're continuing to evaluate very closely. Hala Haddad, who is our adult services assistant manager in charge of collections, has been doing a lot of looking at what the collection needs both now and over the next couple years. And I don't think it's at a point where we're saying we're going to get rid of it, but I do think that that is definitely the, where this is headed. But I think it will probably be a few years before we see that happen, because there is still a group of people that is actively using the collection, but there are fewer and fewer titles that we can actually purchase. They're just not being produced anymore. Magazine checkouts plummeted, as you can see, pretty heavily in 2017. We did not make a decision to stop collecting and purchasing magazines. This was when magazines stopped producing physical copies. And so you can see that that has a direct correlation. When there wasn't anything for us to buy, we are still seeing these numbers. The physical checkouts continue to decrease. We still get a decent number. As you can see, we're checking out a few thousand every year, but these are something that is, again, I think we're seeing the magazine industry changing, and each year there are more magazines that are no longer available for us to purchase. But there are still ones, especially the financial magazines, and things like Value Line, Morningstar, as well as some of the more specialty financial ones, are very, very heavily used. And so I would say that those make up the bulk of what we are seeing as popular items in our collection, as well as a lot of our newspapers. This includes the newspapers, especially our newspapers that we get in different languages. We have a lot of people that come in and read those here in the library. Movies, we also are, as you can see, this one, in terms of the size of the collection, it has dipped a little bit, but has really largely maintained. And we have seen a shift away from movies. You can see that from the pandemic, when so many people switched to streaming, we have not seen people come back, but we do still have very strong movie checkouts. Movies after books are our largest circulating collection. So this is still something that people are actively interested in. Margot Hill, who is our movie librarian, does an amazing job of maintaining a collection of almost 25,000 items, including DVDs, Blu-rays, 4K Blu-rays. And you can see that these are still very actively checked out. Even though the numbers are less, they are still very much maintaining an even keel. We saw a dip, but now it seems to be maintaining. I don't anticipate that this is a collection that we'll be seeing. We haven't seen the shift in the movie industry in terms of producing DVDs and Blu-rays the way that we have with audiobooks, where they're still producing them. So I think as long as that is happening, we'll continue to see hopefully a steady usage of them. And we have a lot of people that don't want to stream and don't want and only want to come and check out items. Music is another area that we have seen a pretty significant shift in. You can always tell right where the pandemic happened, right? Because there's that huge dip. But one of the things is that we have seen, much like with audiobooks, there are not as many music CDs being produced in CD format, but we do still have a very active following of people that check out our music CDs. So while we have seen them go down over time, we haven't seen them drop as dramatically as we have seen with the audiobooks. But this is another collection that we definitely keep our eye on to make sure, is this something that is still a good value for us to be putting money into? Is this still something our patrons want? And I think what we're seeing is, while it is slowly decreasing, it is still something that people are actively checking out and using.
Is any of that attributable to LPs and records being available and the increase in popularity of that format?
Our record collection is fairly small, but it is very heavily used. When was it? Was it like a year ago that we got the different shelving? And that definitely saw an increase. Doing the face out shelving up on the third floor for the LPs made it much more visible, and you can definitely see the circ numbers trend up. So merchandising has a pretty sizable impact on things. It's something that if we had Anna's going to kill me for saying this. We know that having things face out benefits the circulation. Like for our movies, I guarantee you, if we tomorrow said we're going to switch and replace all of our shelving in our movie collection, we would see probably a 10 to 15% circ bump. We're not doing that. But that is something that, again, I think when we think about not just what we're ordering, but how we're displaying it and how we're merchandising, it's really critical.
And space.
Yeah, well, that too.
It takes a lot of space.
It does. Yes, because you can't shelve as many face out as you can if there's fine out. And so then what's more important? Is it more important to have more items, but they're not as easily browsable, or is it more important to have it more browsable? And that's where we try to balance by having our popular collections down here on the first floor that are face out, and we have continued to see those be heavily used, but then we also have the deep collections up on the second and third floors that people can really access, and still get those more, have a wider selection available. So other checkouts, you'll see I have a video game controller, but this also includes our Library of Things collection. It includes anything like our puzzles and youth services. So it's kind of the things that our board game collection. You can see that these numbers, even though our collection hasn't increased that dramatically, the circulation numbers for these are continuing to increase. And these are becoming more and more popular. Our Library of Things, if you ever walk by, you'll see there's often just tons of orange cards, which means they're checked out. And so this is something that we're continuing to look at and see, where do we need to add more money. Do you check out from Library of Things?
No, but last month I was trying from work to look at the catalog online to see if something was available. And can I tell you, our website makes it absolutely horrendously impossible to figure out how to even find what's in it, let alone see what's available.
I agree.
For
It
the
is
Library of Things.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
do have a page on our
Yeah, but it's buried.
website.
It's not something that's
Yeah.
easily
Oh, I
found
see
from
what
the
you're saying.
homepage.
Yeah, and it's
And
not
then when I
something you can
searched
easily
on it-
search in the catalog.
Yeah, it doesn't find it easily.
Yes, we are very aware. We are very much looking forward to updating the website, and we can also look at this and see if there's something we can do in the meantime to make it a little bit more.
I think just put in a
Yeah.
link that can be easily found on the homepage, or
Yeah,
up in the list, the drop-down list where it
Yeah.
shows you the different, collections, so to speak, because that's the first place I looked.
yeah. Well, and to be perfectly honest, we haven't promoted it as heavily because it is often so many things are checked out that we haven't wanted to promote it, to tell people like, come check out this great stuff that you can't get right now because they're all checked out. But that, I think, just speaks to the interest and the need is definitely there. So I anticipate that this number, I don't ever expect us to suddenly have 50,000 Library of Things items, or but I do think that we'll continue to see this usage climb, especially if we market it better on the website. So yeah, thanks for that, Jay.
It looks like all of the statistics show the circulation is going up, and
Yeah.
the collections are going down in every dimension that you're showing. And so that means the patrons, like, you probably also seeing a lot of holds being put in place. And if you think about that compared to...
We have not seen a dramatic increase in holds. I did not pull those numbers for any of this, but I can do that for next month if you're interested. I haven't looked at them holistically over like the last decade, but one of the things that is interesting is that we have, when did we add Collection HQ? 2017?
Yes.
Kelly, when Kelly came here, was like, we were at her last library, they were using a product called Collection HQ that helps make more data-driven collection management decisions. And Kelly spearheaded the implementation of that. And so we've now been using that for 7 years, and you can see where we're able to purchase more effectively what people are interested in to meet the demand. So we're not like, there's a report called dead on arrival, which basically means we bought a thing and it never checked out. And we want that number to be as low as possible, right? Like there's always going to be a couple things, right? But this allows our selectors to take their professional knowledge and expertise and give them the data behind it to make it easier to make those purchasing decisions and to know what's working, what isn't. Oh, I should buy more travel books. Oh, we should, buy fewer books about cooking. That's never going to be true. But that I think has really helped us, where even though our collection size is shrinking, I think that what I'm seeing is that we're making more thoughtful purchasing decisions, and so we're able to meet the needs, and that's why we're seeing the numbers go up, because the things that we have are the things that people are interested in. That isn't to say that we don't sometimes have long hold queues for things, but that is something that I think that we continue to work on, having a wide and a deep collection, which is really hard because we want to satisfy demand while also satisfying the various interests. And these tools like Collection HQ, combined with the expertise of our staff, make it so that we're meeting the demand.
So you're acquiring more strategically.
Yes.
And narrowing
Yes.
that gap between wants and what you're have on hand.
Yeah, and I think being able to respond a lot more quickly, because there's so many reports now that we get that are like, oh, hey, here's the holds report that we get every week. So we know, we need to buy more. And tech is set up so that they have great systems in place so that we can order stuff and get it processed and on the shelf in like a week if it's really high demand, or even sooner. And that's because of the systems, like the back end systems we have, so that we're able to be responsive in that way. They do a thing in tech services every day where they look at the holds list, and if there's anything that has appeared on the holds list that's on order but received but not yet out on the shelf, they'll pull it and expedite the processing so we can get it into the patrons' hands more quickly, which is something that they've done here for a very long time and is very rare. I've never worked at a library that does that, but is, I think, really appreciated by our patrons because they're getting stuff much more quickly. So,
Did you know? It's so interesting. I've never heard of that. And are there other things that we should be so proud of?
oh, yes, so many other things.
So many systems.
Maybe we'll make Barb come in and talk about some of the cool tech stuff sometime.
I was thinking, because I also
Yeah.
found this fascinating, I was thinking down the line, maybe I would think it would be a great newsletter article.
Oh,
I mean, you're right, your patrons almost certainly appreciate having that book available to them more quickly. My guess is they do not know why it was.
They think it's magic.
They think, I mean,
well, we are magic.
you are magic.
But maybe let's
100%.
also
Yeah.
tell them that the
Let's give some
magic
credit.
takes work.
Yeah. I mean, some of the things that
Yeah.
technology has helped the library do to
Yeah.
better serve patrons beyond offering technology workshops. I mean,
Yes.
things like you were talking about. You get your books faster. We know what to buy, more strategically. We have a better idea of what our patrons might want. We watch, I don't think most people have any idea how closely you're monitoring the data, how closely you're using that data to make smart choices.
Yes. And I think this is the thing that, you often hear people be like, well, we don't want to take away it's just use data. Like the data is a tool that we are using along with our really excellent staff. And that's the thing that I think it's the intersection of those two things that I find most fascinating, right? Because you can have all the data in the world, but if you're not looking at it or using it, but it's taking it and using it effectively to meet the needs.
It supports staff's ability to do a good job.
Yeah.
So,
Mm-hmm.
maybe that's just me. I think it would be
Yeah.
interesting.
Okay. Well, I jotted it down. I'll talk to Linda about. I think that would be fun. But I also am a data dork, so I don't know if I'm. We'll see.
It's
So-
like a behind the scenes.
Yes. Yes.
You think little elves are doing all this?
Yeah.
And I think just to build on what Barbara just said, yes, because it isn't elves, and I think it would be a wonderful thing for our patrons in the community to know what goes into,
Yeah.
you walk in, you get your book, out you go. You don't think about all
Think
that's
about
going on.
how it. Well, when we do tours, kind of the life cycle of a book of what does it take from ordering it to getting it on the shelf to when it comes to the end of life,
Yeah.
and then where does it go, and how do we give it new life, and
Yeah.
we've done some of that, but yeah, I think that would be. Yeah. We have some new. Linda will be thrilled. We were just meeting today to talk about future newsletter articles and brainstorming. So this will be. I can add these to the list. So now we're shifting to look at how our physical and downloadable items are checking out. And so the red are the physical items and the purple are the downloadable. As you can see with the books, the majority are still checking out physical books, but we are seeing an increase in downloadable checkouts. I think this is great because to me, it's just another way to give people access. And so when I see the increase, I'm not seeing a decrease in checkout of physical items. I'm seeing just an overall increase in book checkouts. The same cannot be said of audiobooks. Audiobook, as you can see, there is a sharp decline in the red, and the purple is now like 70 to 80% of checkouts are downloadables. And that is a number that, as I mentioned before, I'm thinking that we will continue to see. It's just so easy to download and listen. Yeah. And I just, so magazines, we also are seeing a huge increase. When Kelly was talking about Libby and the checkouts, you can tell when magazines became available in Libby because all of a sudden they spike. And so it goes to show that it isn't just what materials you have, but it's the ease of access. And Libby is a platform, the Overdrive platform is one that almost everyone knows. And while we do have other platforms, and Press Reader is another one that has gained in popularity during the pandemic and beyond, we are recognizing that there is a huge value in having this huge platform that already has other content on it, and people are definitely actively using it. But you'll also see that while we've seen an overall decrease in magazine checkouts because the number of physical items, they are kind of maintaining. So overall, more people are reading magazines. I can't remember the last time I read a magazine, but when I was looking at these, I'm like, I really should. Like, there's good stuff, right? Like,
So do the magazines charge the same way the digital downloads for books charge? Where you get 20 per copy and then you have to buy another copy, or?
that's a great question. No, but I don't know all the ins and outs of that. But I can get some more information on the magazines.
Sorry, what was the question?
Are we charged the same way, and are there the same limitations with the magazines as there are with the book checkout? So like different publishers will charge like $100, or they'll limit it to 26 checkouts and then you have to buy another copy.
You mean for the downloadable?
For the downloadables. It does not work the same way. But I can't tell you off the top of my head what the exact pricing model is. So let me find out and I'll bring some info back next month.
I can tell you the one thing I do know is we don't get additional charges based upon our checkouts for magazines, like whatever we pay.
It's a subscription cost.
Yeah.
And it's a consortium. We buy it as a consortium. So it's prorated based on like your checkouts and your population. So I have to.
Okay, so they're already factoring in how many estimated checkouts are going to be per month or whatever.
Yeah, they usually look at the previous year to estimate then, and then so it's kind of like a look back to see how to charge for the next year. There's like I'm trying to remember, with the Overdrive Consortium, because we have two different, with our Overdrive Consortium that we're in, we pay to be part of the consortium. So we pay a flat fee, which basically covers the software costs, and then we pay to add items to the collection. But then we also have a separate Advantage collection that we purchase that are only available to Northbrook cardholders. That's kind of like a separate add-on. So we have the consortia fees are based on a tiered system based on checkouts and population. And then there's a third factor that I can't remember right now. But then the Advantage collections, we just purchase outright as though we had our own Overdrive platform. That was maybe really, but I will find out more about the magazine pricing and bring it back next month. Movies, we are not seeing a huge increase. When we purchased Canopy, so in 2018 when we got Canopy, you can see that that number increases. Prior to that, the number was really small because there were a few items available on Hoopla, but they weren't really actively used. But as you can see, Canopy is something that, especially during the pandemic, was heavily used. It is not as heavily used, but still maintains a decent percentage. This is about the same. It's about a 90-10 split in terms of physical movie checkouts versus downloadable checkouts, similar to what ebooks are. And then we do have music through Hoopla and Naxos. It's not very heavily used. As you can see, it is something that you're not streaming, you're checking it out. And so it's not really as, and you can't really build playlists, so we're not really seeing that get a ton of use, but that is something that is available in those two platforms. And then I thought it would be interesting to just look at what the percentage is of checkouts overall. And I just looked at the FY17 versus FY24 to kind of give you a how are things shifting. So in FY17, the predominant thing that was being checked out were books. That is still true, but it actually, interestingly, and this includes, I should say for this includes both physical and downloadable. So 65% of items checked out in fiscal year 2017 were books. 72% of items checked out in FY24 were books. That goes to show, I think, that we are seeing an overall increase in book checkouts, and we are definitely seeing those ebook numbers helping push that up. Movies continues to be the second most popular item checked out, and that is about 18% in FY17. That number, though, has dropped to 10%, and it's almost the same as our audiobook checkouts. What's really interesting is that our audiobook checkouts continues to be just under 10% of our overall circs, even though the shift from physical checkouts to downloadable has been very dramatic over that time. But it still maintains, we still have about the same amount being checked out overall compared to our total circulation.
So people still love audiobooks.
People still love audiobooks. Exactly. Yeah. And so I think you can definitely see when people, like the ebook readers have found libraries, but we still have a very dedicated following of physical book readers. We have also seen an increase in our magazine and newspaper checkouts, which is fascinating. Well, I shouldn't say in checkouts, in the percentage of our overall checkouts. It's fascinating when you consider the fact that so many magazines have stopped producing, and that this is really attributed to the downloadable content, because we haven't seen an upsurge in the physical items being checked out. Music continues to decrease, and I think because we don't have a good digital platform, there isn't really one that exists. We'll probably continue to see that number go down. And other has doubled in size from 2 to 4%. So it's still small, but it is definitely, I wouldn't be surprised if over the next 5 to 7 years, we see the other start maybe not to get to like over 10%, but that we'll see it more on par with the audiobooks. So long story short, when we say our library is still about books, yes. But I think we can also take comfort in knowing that we continue to adapt and change formats based on what people are looking for, and that overall we're seeing people still heavily using the library in many different ways, and we'll continue to support those different needs. I think it's one of the cool things when you look at libraries over the course of time is that we are really good at adapting based on what the different needs are, and it isn't a throwing the baby out with the bathwater. It's just continuing to evolve to meet the changing needs. So,
But with the continuation of a core.
yes, the
Books.
books. The books are the
And
core.
that's-
Yeah. So, and I'm happy to answer any questions, or if there's other information that this has piqued at interest, if you'd like, I can bring hold stuff. I can certainly bring magazine pricing stuff next month. And if there's other info, I love doing this kind of stuff. So like, if you guys have more questions.
Yeah, thanks for sharing.
I have a quick question about the report about the New York Times.
Oh yeah,
If you're not in the library,
you can
So-
still get it.
only for 24 hours or? Okay,
But then you can
Each
keep
time.
doing it every 24 hours.
okay.
That's the New York Times?
Is
Mhm.
that in press
I
read?
know, because then, yeah.
Is that new?
Yes.
Yeah, I know.
Just set
Um,
up an account
With the
Okay.
New York Times, with the,
with,
what was
through
it,
the library.
through,
But if you're in here, you can just like use it if you use
Yeah. the
library
hard copy.
Wi-Fi. But I want to use it at home. Yeah.
Yeah, you
that-
can.
That, the
But then
Washington
each time I have to get a code. So
Yes.
not,
But it hang on.
yeah.
I have a sneaky idea. I'll tell you.
Okay.
With certain newspapers, that's hard to,
What?
it's hard to review, read their stuff online.
Correct.
I
New
know.
York Times has become one of them. Used to
Correct.
You could easily get around their.
You can
version.
also
I know. Now
get
it's
their
so-
spelling bee
Yeah.
and do the games as well. Okay, so you're going to go here. It's under, if you go under find e-resources and go to New York Times,
Okay.
and it's New York Times outside the library. So you're going to register for an account, and then you're going to click redeem. Each day, once you've registered for the account, just bookmark this page, and then if you come back here every day, Jamie, you just click redeem, and it'll
Give
take
me
you
a
like,
code.
and it'll
Yeah.
give you a new code,
Okay.
and then it works really seamlessly if you're reading it through the app. It'll do it almost automatically each day.
Okay.
I
I'll try it.
I tried it a couple days. I didn't do it while I was in Europe, but if you like, I can have Phil come next month and do a demo so you guys can see.
Does that also get the recipe
Yes.
database?
It does. It does.
I know each time I was like, get locked out again.
Yeah. So this is we purchased 5,000 codes. So it's not by person, it's how many times. So like if you do it once a week and Jay does it 7 times a week, that's 8. If you guys each do it 7 times a week, it's 14. But we have 5,000, but then we can purchase more and we just buy as many as we need. And we didn't know how long. So this is a test run to see what the popularity is. It's going to be in the September newsletter. So I imagine that that's when we're going to see our
Oh, yeah, it's gonna skyrocket.
numbers. Yeah.
And of course,
So-
everyone watching tonight's board meeting.
The millions
Yes.
that are watching.
I know.
But
They're gonna
crash the internet.
I'm surprised the website's still the same, honestly.
if you can
So
get
true.
the Tribune through the press reader,
You can.
but you couldn't get New York Times, so you.
Yeah, there were other ways, but it was laborious.
Well, you're getting text mostly. You weren't getting the online version.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. You can do it through the app. It's really, really nice. And I imagine that if this goes well, I know Phil was talking about like looking at, are there other things that we want to look at? And this might be the shift that we'll see coming with this. So that's something that Phil Collins our adult services supervisor in charge of magazines and newspapers is monitoring. So yeah. Any other questions I can answer?
Any board member reports?
I had the pleasure of sitting in on baby time yesterday morning, and there was a lot of energy. And I have to commend Amanda and Yuri for doing a fabulous and flexible job with rolling with whatever was going on in that room. And our young patrons clearly loved it. They were having a wonderful time, as were their parents, who I think were happy to have a place to come with their little ones. And what I liked the most, besides the bubbles, where they blow bubbles over the kids.
We are going to have bubbles on the 4th of July parade.
That's great.
So just as an incentive.
What I really liked was watching those little ones discover that each other were in the room. You know, probably had come across a lot of other little people, and they were quite fascinated by each other. Sometimes more than the little songs and books, but.
Do you want to know a secret about baby time?
Sure.
So it is for the children, but realistically it's 90% for the parents. To
Having
teach
been
them
in that situation, yes.
how to interact and develop early literacy skills. So it's really modeling for the parents and encouraging them to then take that and do it at home.
Well, they
That's
certainly
our
seem to be
secret.
enjoying it very much and participating enthusiastically. And I thought the staff did a wonderful job. And I
We'll
don't have
certainly
little ones anymore, but I enjoyed sitting off to the sidelines and watching.
Of all the programs, what made you decide to go check it?
I try very hard to come and take a look at programs that I would not naturally attend.
Great.
It would be easy for me to say, oh, I went to a movie, or I went to a concert, or I went to a class. But I do think about things that are not something I would normally be attending. I no longer have a baby, and because I'd like to see how those are going also at the library. And
That's great.
who doesn't like watching a bunch of babies
and bubbles.
and bubbles? Best part.
That's what we need to go viral for the board meetings. A bubble machine.
Can Amanda and Yuri stand around and blow bubbles over our meeting as they
Oh.
did at baby time?
Well, I don't know if we can achieve that level of coolness for the board meetings, but
It was very cool.
we'll be sure to pass on your
It was
compliments
great.
to Amanda and Yuri. They are fantastic.
Barbara, you had something.
I do. I have a question about the volunteer program,
Yes.
or lack of. I've had several people contact me to say that they called to see if they could volunteer
Yeah.
and got either no response or that there aren't any things for them to do. So I said I would bring it back, and
Yes, thank you for sharing that. We last year, during the pandemic, we had sunset a lot of the volunteer stuff because of pandemic reasons, and have been ramping it back up. And it's something that I know Bridget Golombeski, our volunteer coordinator, has been working with the different departments on identifying volunteer opportunities. She meets anytime someone fills out an application form, she reaches out, does an kind of like a interest interview with them. So I would like to get offline some more information about who didn't hear back from, because I'm wondering if there's a problem with the form, or if something is if there is something going into one department and not getting to Bridget.
and that's what I said.
And yeah, because I know we've placed a lot of new volunteers. I'm not sure about the other piece. I will say that sometimes people do come wanting to do things that aren't really volunteer duties, but we do have things for people. I mean, we do our home deliveries, help, but like if someone says, I want to do baby story time, we say thank you so much, but that is actually something that is for the staff. As an example, we've had people ask to do that, but it doesn't sound like that's what's happening.
No.
So let me look into things a little more, and if you have names of people that I could reach out to and talk to.
The one for sure, I can give you, yes, she's
Okay.
a neighbor and
Yeah, that would be great because I view the volunteer program as another program. Like, yes, people are donating their time, and that is, it does take staff effort to do it, but to me, it's an important part of building community at the library.
a sense of, I'm a part of this.
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
And I will say we also, if we don't have things, we'll often recommend that they reach out to the friends. If we don't have something that fits their interests, the friends often are looking for people to help in the bookshop or, that serve on the board. So we've also, it's not like we just say, nope, we've got nothing. We always have here's another option that you
Great.
maybe could explore. So, so thank you for sharing that, and I'll get some more information.
Great. Thank you.
Anyone else? I was also going to share that in addition to signing up for summer reading, I was here on June 1st because for reasons that don't matter, I'm taking a summer class and needed to study for a test. So I got to be here as kids were super excited to sign up and do the scavenger hunt.
Did you do the scavenger
I did
hunt?
not do the scavenger hunt because I already felt weird being in a study room on a Saturday. So, but it was super cute and I loved the enthusiasm, and I've never seen the kickoff to summer reading in Northbrook, and there was just so much energy in the children's section. And even as I was like browsing Lucky Day down here and people running around to find the next thing on their scavenger hunt. So kudos to the staff who put that together because people were clearly engaged and very excited about it.
Thank you. I will be sure to share that with the summer reading committee, who does work very hard on putting together fun things.
We'll do the scavenger hunt next year.
It is available to adults as well as kids.
I was studying. Very hard. Okay. Okay, moving into unfinished business. First thing up is a strategic plan implementation update.
So I had planned to have like a really pretty like presentation-y thing to share. I did not factor in getting caught up from vacation as well as I should have. So I shared a document that is in everyone's blue folders, and so the management team and I have been working on putting together activities. This is a draft plan. We're still working on things, and we're working on the evaluation framework as well. But I wanted to just share with the board kind of some of the things we've been thinking about. A lot of what the board, what we talked about with my goals have now been incorporated in here, but it also has added some of the other things that we will be working on. And we have it set as a 3-year plan, but realistically, we want this to be a living document. So the activity plan is something that we'll be looking at every year with the board to say, are there things that need a shift and change? So for right now, these are some of the things that we are focused on. And there are hopefully nothing in here is going to come across as super surprising. Many of these things we've talked about, and a lot of them are just continuing to kind of double down on things that we know are important, but we want to make sure that we are placing time and attention on them. Like, for instance, making data-driven decisions around collections, that is something we do and is really important in maintaining our collections and serving our community, and that is something that we want to continue to make sure that we are putting time and energy into. So I'm not going to go through, you guys are all capable adults and can read things, but I will be bringing a more finalized draft next month, but I'm happy if there's anything that jumps out that you have a question on right now that I can answer.
One question I have is, and it may be that I'm just not finding is our new strategic plan on the website?
It is not yet on the website because we were waiting until we had the activity plan finalized. So we now have the page on there that has all of the community response, the community survey info, as well as our strategic, that part might not be live. I know it was going to be live. Do you recall? Did that? It didn't go live. Okay. Sorry, I'm not completely caught up yet. so that we're going to be doing a big spread in the September newsletter.
Okay.
And that is when we will have the full website. It'll show the different activities as well as kind of how we're going to be evaluating so that we can show and chart progress for the community.
Sounds good.
So coming soon.
Coming soon.
I just wanted to mention too, in this draft plan, one thing that's not captured is the departmental work, because we're working with our managers to identify activities that will help us achieve the goals in the strategic plan. So that's something that we have been working on for the last 4 weeks, and we're hoping to finalize toward the end of this month, maybe the beginning of next month. And I will say we've had a lot of really great, thoughtful conversations, sort of based on the Zhang report about how to incorporate the concerns that we have with staff capacity and ensuring that the activity plan is capturing things that are already in motion that we want to make sure we're calling out, that they're helping us achieve the goals, as well as things in the near future that we know that we want to implement to help achieve the goals, and identifying which things are projects and which things are more like of the ongoing day-to-day. So it's been a lot of conversation, and I think it's great that we are taking that thoughtful approach, and hopefully will help staff not feel too overwhelmed by it in the end.
Any other questions about that? Chiller repair update?
Sure. The project is taking a little longer than what was expected. Because it took longer, we were concerned with the temperature in the building, and we rented portable AC units to keep the building cool while the system was taken out of service. Thermosystems brought each of the modules up individually, and as of yesterday, all 3 modules are now up and running. The building is cool, and departments are feeling it, and staff can tell a difference. So we're all good. Tomorrow I am going to be just doing a project walkthrough with Thermosystems, just what they did and how everything went, and go over a list of punch list items.
That's the $100,000 check that's in there?
Yeah, that was $100,000 check is 30% at mobilization. So they sent that in. They probably should have gotten that check when they started the project in May, but I'll get it tomorrow. I'll get it mailed tomorrow. Yeah. And then when it's all done, when all the punch list items are clear, then we'll have another 30%.
And then I just wanted to mention, we knew that the chiller was going to be offline for this repair work. This was planned. And we were really hoping that Mother Nature would cooperate. And unfortunately, June 3rd, we hit 90 degrees. But actually, June 2nd and June 3rd, we had days that were over 90 degrees. And because we didn't have the chiller online, there were sections of the building that were very warm. So, even with the portable AC units, we could not keep the 3rd floor cool. It was well over 80 degrees. On Wednesday, it got up to 89 and just sustained at that level for the full day. Like by 10 a.m. it was 89 and it did not come down. So on the 4th, we ended up closing the collaboratory at 1:30. We were able to move some of the portable AC units and cool that area enough so that staff could work in the collaboratory on the 5th and 6th. So it was only closed for a half of the day. The fiction and media desk on the 3rd floor, we closed for June 4th, 5th, and 6th, and then moved any staff, their staff office spaces on the 3rd floor. We moved them into temporary locations on the 2nd floor. The back half of the 2nd floor was cool because that is on a separate system. So we did have places that staff could go that were not hot. We were able to leave the 3rd floor open so that people could get to materials. We had some shelvers do a little bit of work up there, although we did fall a little behind on shelving in that section. And we were able to complete the pick list with materials that were on the 3rd floor.
Which, just to every day the system will run a list of the items that people have put on hold, both our patrons and elsewhere. So there's stuff that we put on our shelves as well as that are sent that we call the pick list.
Right. So we were able to fill holds.
Yeah.
In a timely manner. So I just want to also say, staff were amazing through all of this. It was uncomfortable in terms of temperature, and I think everybody did what they could to make themselves comfortable, to advocate for themselves, and to still serve the patrons. So,
Kudos to the staff, and thank you for your leadership.
Yeah, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thank you.
Were patrons supportive?
We did not receive any negative. Well, I was in Paris, but like Kelly and Linda have shared, things were fine. It was about 72 degrees.
There was one comment in the
That explains
patron
the thing.
comment
Okay.
that talked about the temperature. So,
Okay.
I mean, but
yes.
If that's it.
yeah.
It's pretty good. Okay.
Yeah, people
Could've-
commented on it,
could've
but
been worse.
I think patrons commented, but they weren't angry.
They were understanding.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Just like, what's going on?
Yeah. Yeah. And I do try to, anytime I'm leaving, arrange to have any major building failures happen while I'm gone so that Kelly and Anna
Good
can.
planning. Good planning.
I didn't notice that, Kate.
Yeah.
Impressive delegating.
I know, right? It's
On the
just.
phone with the meteorologist.
Yeah, but no, Kelly and Anna both did an amazing job of navigating all of it, because this is, as you can say, you can plan for everything, but you still have things that are outside of your control. They
Great
did a really
job.
great job. Thanks.
Thank you.
Kelly did amazing.
So did Anna.
I just went with the flow. Kelly really was the mastermind behind its success.
Yeah.
Yes. Teamwork makes the dream work, right? Isn't that something?
Yeah, that's a thing people say.
Is that like a sports thing?
I don't know. You're asking.
Have you had any drama with cicadas flying into the building?
We do. The circulation desk, both the welcome desks have paper cups with lids because that's their cicada removal system. So when they come in, they get a cup and bring them back outside. There's been a lot.
Well, made it in here.
It's
Anna
amazing how you can
Anna
do it.
helped it get back outside because
No, it was dead.
She buried it.
she buried it. Okay, that's
So
fine.
sad.
Dead when-
Whatever it was.
I did not kill it. It was dead when I saw it.
They die kind of fast.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
There for a good time, not a long time.
We do have, if you have not been up to youth services, one of our staff members, Kaylee Cairns, there's a cicada palooza where they have these 18-inch wooden carvings that she has decorated in a book motif. Did I put a picture? Did we put a picture?
Yes.
Oh,
They're
Yeah, no, it's
amazing.
great.
great. Yeah, it's really cool, even though it's terrifying.
Yeah.
First.
Yeah,
I mean,
Yeah.
I love the artwork as well as the bugs
as
themselves.
the bugs themselves, yeah. You would get along very well with many of the staff here. Melissa. We have a lot of cicada happy people.
Okay, no new business and no reason to go into closed session this month. So agenda building for next month, we have the strategic plan, master plan update, and review the draft of the executive director succession plan.
That'll be coming.
That's exciting.
I know.
Anything else? No, okay. And we will adjourn at 8:13.